exciting. We have models, which is really exciting. And they also have really cool to be around, a really cool relationship. They have 3 beautiful kids. So just really, really excited to have them on. And then I just met Shuri and Lau, if I said it right. Shuri and Lau. Prior, Shuri and I were having a conversation of her 2 beautiful kids, and now she's possibly thinking about a 3rd. I don't know if you heard about this conversation.
I've been trying.
You know?
That's good. COVID baby. No.
So, but no, really, really excited to hear from both of these awesome couples and just their wisdom and experience as they're both married with beautiful kids and just moving forward and growing relationships. So really excited to hear from them. So we're gonna start with a word of prayer, and then we're gonna get going. So everyone just bow your heads. And dear Heavenly Father, thank you that we're all able to be here. Thank you that we're able to just minister and spread your love and wisdom, and we're able to have these amazing panelists just be willing to serve and add value and impact the youth and this next generation on the come up. And so just wanted to thank you, and that pray that you're here with us and that you're guiding this conversation and this topic. In your name we pray, amen. Okay, so how we're going to run this, really quick, some housekeeping. Everyone that's on, we're going to ask that you just stay muted, and we'll have the panelists be able to have the floor, so there's clear communication, no one's going over each other. And then as well as if you have any questions as we're going on with this this YNA topic, just to shoot it in the chat. At the bottom of your screen, you should be able to find it, just to be able to type in your questions in the chat and who you might be directing it to. And so we'll go through some of our questions that we have, and then afterwards, if we still have some time, we can do a quick Q&A, which would be really exciting. But we'll get started here with our very first question. And how we'll do it, we'll just have whichever panelist, I believe Harold and Marissa are on separate screens, but we'll have whichever panelist wants to share first or take turns, but we'll go like that. So the first question here we got is being single better for ministry? So I'll open the floor to whoever wants to start that off. See, Shari's smiling over there. So whoever wants to start that off.
Yeah. It'd probably be better if he.
No, you go.
Because you're actually in ministry.
I know. Go ahead.
I'm gonna speak on behalf of my husband. It is a terrible idea to be I think it'd be better for you if you can find somebody who can complement you to do it in ministry. I don't know if he could be as successful as he has been without my support. It's like bigging up myself. You should be saying these wonderful things about me. Go ahead. Say all the nice things about me.
Yeah, I definitely think that having a partner in ministry is very helpful. You know, some people sort of relate to it or call it a covering. And so for instance, Cherie's my covering. You know, she helps to protect me. She helps to guide me, and she gives me advice. And there's a lot of times that I would have probably went a different route if I didn't have her support and her spiritual wisdom. And so I think that's the blessing about having a partner in ministry. She's helped to keep me in line. She's helped me from not going to politics. Like there's so many things where I don't think if I didn't have a woman of God in my life, I probably wouldn't be here right now. So I think it's beneficial to have that support for sure, 100%.
Yeah, and the key is just to find somebody who is well matched to you. We went into our marriage knowing that we were going to have some difficult times, just our personalities and our drive and our family life and stuff. So we knew that. But for us, our purpose of being together was so much more important than our personal happiness. So I remember when my cousin, she had me read a book, and I forgot the name of the book, but it basically asked the question about what's the purpose of marriage? And they said the purpose of marriage is not to make you happy, but to make you holy. And so to me, I was always trying to find somebody who, through our being together, it would elevate both of our lives spiritually, and our purpose, so that like we could actually make it to heaven, and make it to heaven knowing that like we have done something that God could be pleased about. So
Awesome. I wouldn't mind adding some stuff. Before I say anything, a disclaimer: my wife and I are not fighting. We're in separate rooms because we got 3 kids, 5 and under, that we're trying to manage activity. Second disclaimer is I'm not a pastor, I'm not a marriage counselor, but I have been on a journey for the last 20 years, and I think that's the reason I'm on this panel. So to answer the question, is being single better for ministry? First off, I think it's okay to be single. Society says it's great if you're married, or it's great if you're in a relationship, and it's kind of bad if you're single, but the Bible is pretty clear about it's pretty great to be single, and it's too bad if you're married, right? Where Paul was pretty clear on his view on being single, and he wasn't really warm and fuzzy about the whole idea of getting married. Like, why would you get married unless you have like a sexual desire? Then it's great to be married. But I chose to be married, and I'm one of those weird people that is actually excited about their marriage. You know, even when my wife is not around, like I talk about my wife. I don't have names for my wife that I call her when I'm hanging out with work colleagues or anywhere outside of the house. And I say it's weird because I hear those type of comments all the time. I don't hear a lot of people being excited about their marriage. So I'm pretty excited. I hope Narissa is as well. And I do think that it's pretty awesome if a couple can work together. It's extremely powerful, you know, like if a husband and wife is together in a boat and they're rowing in the same direction, you know, they have a rhythm of their oars and they're going forward in a straight line, and they're on a mission, they're in sync. It's super powerful. I don't think there's anything more powerful than a husband and a wife being on the same path, working together. But the fact is, unfortunately, there's a lot of couples out there who are just sitting in the boat, hitting each other over the head with the oars, versus working together and rowing together. And sometimes they are rowing, but they're rowing in opposite directions, so they're just spinning circles and not really getting anything done. So there's the answer is yes, no to the question.
Yeah. So I'm Narissa on the other screen. I know it's, sorry for the confusion. We are on 2 separate screens, just because, like Harold said, we're just trying to manage the kids while we have this call. But to add to what Harold's saying, I think just on a little bit of a different track, because not everyone on the Zoom call knows our story. Harold and I did not grow up as Christians, so this was something we discovered, our relationship with God in our adult life, actually, and I've dabbled here and there. So as we got to, even before we got to know each other, we've both dabbled in, I guess, getting to know God in different arenas as we were invited to different events and different things. And we came to our own realization and our own decision to have a relationship with God at our own times. So it wasn't even at the same time. It kind of came in between, in the midst of us getting to know each other as our relationship got stronger, as we committed and eventually became husband and wife. But so yeah, to answer that question, Harold and I, we agree with that. I agree with him on, we have the same answer, the yes, no answer, because I believe it so much depends on you as an individual, firstly, right? For you to want to seek to have a relationship with God, for you to want to take part in ministry, for you to want to contribute in some way, shape, or form. And that's the journey you need to be on, right? And for myself, I got to know God. For me, what it was it was in line with the values that I was raised with. And the coolest thing is that it was everything that my parents taught me, but it just gave me a greater purpose and a greater sense of self, outside of just seeking the approval of my parents. And so that got me into seeking and eventually committing to a relationship with God, getting baptized. And the coolest thing is we came to it at different terms. Harold is active and on the leadership team at our church. And so every week he does, they have a leadership meeting, and he is part of a leadership team that leads the service. And what we've been able to do together now is I've been able to help pitch in here and there with the Sabbath school. Sabbath school, just for our kids' sake, right? And that's where it's awesome having another project where, as husband and wife, we can do something together and contribute together, where, you know, it's another project that we can learn to work together. Part of what Lyle and Sherry shared is that it's just something that we could not just utilize each other's strengths as we kind of fight through and identify and work through the challenges that we have as husband and wives, right? Like, I know Harold said we're not fighting now, but we do fight, right? Couples do fight, and it is healthy to fight, right? And part of it, when we have projects to work together on a continual basis, the coolest thing is then we're both able to identify more of, you know, his working methods, or his, you know, his personality, or, you know, what his tendencies are, and just different traits, where, and likewise for me. So just to know, you know, what are his triggers, what are my triggers, as we figure out our strengths, right? Because it doesn't always look that pretty when we say we're figuring out each other's strengths. It's just a matter of, for me, really, it's another layer that we could actually work together. And now with having kids, we're able to actually do more, because it means that much more. It's not just our relationship that we're having with God. It's what we want to share with our kids, and we want them to develop and have and instill with them as they're growing up, because now it's their normal, right? So.
That's awesome. Thank you, guys. I just wanted to applaud like Sherry and Auntie Narissa, because I was talking to my mom today, and I know she was typing on the computer, she was on the phone, and I'm like, wow, these moms can really multitask. Like, for real. It is. I don't know how you guys do it. I could not at all. But like, for real, like, it's crazy. But I definitely, and thank you guys for that one, because I definitely. So what I'm hearing is it's like good or bad, yes or no, like Uncle Harold and Auntie Narissa said. But it's more about like, is that relationship, like, initially you have to come on in terms with like yourself. Are you growing yourself? Are you moving yourself forward? But then also just, it's powerful to have a spouse or a partner that is moving in that same direction, because you both, two heads are better than one, right? And you're both moving in that same direction, which is powerful. So yeah, I agree with that yes and no answer, because it's taken both ways. You can either run by yourself for a period of time as you're growing yourself and moving forward, or if you have that partner and you're both heading in the same direction, it's a powerful thing. So awesome, really awesome, guys. We will move on to the second question. What does a healthy dating process look like? As you guys were initially dating, or how did that all come about? What did that process kind of look like? Look at Lau's face. Yeah, we see that face. But whoever wants to share.
It's crazy, you know. Our story is a funny one. I met Cherie when I was 15 in Pathfinders, and you know, she liked me.
Support your local Pathfinder group. Whoop whoop.
You know, she you know, sometimes the person's right in front of your face and you don't even know it. Because I would go to Pathfinders, and you know, girls like me, and she liked me too. You know, she's fronting. She was fronting at the time. She was 13.
No.
But
no.
It's crazy because I had no intentions of talking to this girl. She was a smart aleck. She got like Pathfinder of the Year like every year. And I was like, yo, who is this girl? And then fast forward 2001.
Wait, you're just gonna make them believe that like I was out here liking you, so you're just gonna leave that in the atmosphere.
This is my story. This is my story.
Okay.
Okay. And so fast forward 2001, we go to CUC, and we hook up and we start dating.
You can't use hookup.
Okay. We get together.
We
started dating officially. I just remember thinking like, God, like, I never would have thought that this person would be my wife, but sometimes God has plans for you that you don't even know yet. And it's been one of the greatest experiences and joys. And it's funny, like how many years have we
been together? This year will be 19. 19.
So 19 years ago, when I look back from where we came, it's like God, how did you know that this person would be so aligned with me and right for me all these years? And it's just like, man, when it is God, like it works, it's for you. It's been designed, divinely designed for you. And so we dated for about 7 years. It's a long time. I'm not saying you got to do that, but we were quite young when we met. You were 17,
yeah,
and I think I was 18. And so by the time we finished CUC and then we did the master's thing, it was 7 years. And throughout that time, I really got to know who she was and vice versa. I think perhaps now dating is probably
it's a lot
shorter.
different. Well, I don't even say it's shorter. I think it's just a lot different. And I would suggest the one thing that I tell everybody, you've got to start on the right premise. A lot of young people, I see them now, they start with like, almost kind of like with a lie. You know, you kind of start always trying to make out to be that you're trying to shape yourself into who you think the other person wants you to be, instead of showing up authentically into a relationship. And I think that's partly because of social media. Social media has it, you know, even with the don't rush challenge, you know? So like, yeah, this is how I look now. And I remember my husband turned to me and he's like, this challenge is like a catfish. These women are out here, they look bust up, and then like they do a little brush thing, and now like they're like amazing. Like he goes, as a man, this is scarring because like when you show up, we don't see you guys looking regular. We see you with like, you know, after the don't rush challenge and everyone's all made up. He's like, this is like catfishing. So, you know, I think for a lot of men, we think that they want us to be a certain way and to be all kind of all dolled up all the time. And I think that there's a space for that. But I think that more importantly, like we need to show up into relationships authentically. And that means that you have to know who you are as a person and who you are in Christ. So like I had my own relationship with Jesus. He had his own relationship with Jesus. And so when we came together, then like we were able to see sometimes like you could be good people, just not good for each other. You know, my principles, do my principles align with his principles? And so we had a lot of hard conversations pretty early on into our relationship, which probably surprised a lot of people. But I tell people, ask those questions, ask them what their relationship with God is like, ask them their goals. Some people are okay marrying somebody who, you know, wants to be a stay-at-home mom. Some people are not comfortable with that. Some people are comfortable with somebody who, you know, travels a lot. My husband travels a lot. And a lot of women would hate that. And to me, it's fine to me. I actually don't mind it. But you're going to have those kind of hard conversations and actually know what you want, what your principles are. What are some things that are definitely like unmovable? What are some things that for sure, like you just do not want to give up? And my list might be kind of crazy to people, but I needed somebody who can appreciate and love music. And I needed someone who could be funny. And I need somebody who valued family. And those were like 3 things. Like, if you are not funny, like we can't, like, I can't chill with you. We can't, nah, we're just not doing that. And for some people that might be silly, but if you met my family, my extended family, we're really crazy, we're loud, we have a lot of fun. And so if somebody was just there all stoic and stuff, it just wouldn't have worked with my personality or worked with my family. So just for me, when it comes to dating process, you're gonna have to know who you are as a person. You have to know who you are as it relates to your relationship with Christ, and show up authentically in that. And always have a couple things that are your, like, for sure, these are the things I need, you know. And like having somebody who's 6'5" is probably not something that you need, ladies. You know, for a guy, having a woman with long hair is probably not something that you need. So like, be kind of true to like actually knowing what you need, and be honest with that, and actually like look deep. Don't just do the shallow things based on what you see on social media, because those things are going to get old. Like, you're going to get old, your eyes are going to sag, you're going to get big. There's a lot of things that, you know, you see these women at 20, and in 10 years, they're not going to look like that. They'll have 1 child and you won't look like that. So you need to have other things like that you value about the other person, so that like when everything gets saggy, you are still like just as in love as you were when you met them.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. I have a 2-part answer. My first part is I want to give you guys a quick background on where I started and how my dating used to look like. And then maybe Narissa can jump in and correct everything that I said. And then I would like to finish up with what I learned about dating. But to give you guys a quick snapshot, working up at Cypress Mountain, and then this girl walked on the snow. She was looking for a job. I was one of the managers there. So she walked on the snow, and then she laid eyes on me, and then she got so warm and fuzzy on the inside that the snow started to melt around her feet. So I can see this girl like going down in the snow because she saw me. She was getting warm. The snow was melting around her feet. So I ran out, like I literally ran out, and I threw her on my shoulder, and I brought her to safety. And then she was so thankful that I brought her to safety. I'm like, you know what? Why don't we go out for drinks tonight? So we went out for drinks, and then we hooked up. But I wasn't really into a relationship because I had done that before, and that clearly doesn't work, right? So we hooked up, and then we hooked up again, and then we hooked up again. And I'm pretty sure she kind of liked me. And why have a relationship? I've heard it say, why buy the milk if you can get the cow? Or how does that saying go? Why buy the cow?
Why buy the cow if you get the milk for free? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not calling my wife a cow by any means because she's amazing. So don't use this wording against me later. But I was getting my everything that I wanted without commitment of a relationship, and I was good with that. And that went on for a period of time until resentment built to the point where Marissa didn't even want to have anything to do with me. Because men and women have different experiences when it comes to sex. We're just different. Like women, I believe, are more emotionally attached to that than men are. And maybe Narissa wants to share a little bit more of that story. Then I wouldn't mind coming back to what I've learned from all of that.
Yeah, just on that note, we were definitely not the healthy relationship starting our relationship together. Just to backtrack a little bit, I love what Cherie was saying, and just to add on to that, we definitely need to figure out what our deal breakers are. And as I was becoming an adult and starting to adulting, if you will, I didn't identify what those values were. And it got to the point, like Harold was saying, where I resented him 100% because all I could think of in my head was, I've given you everything that I've got, and you can't even, you won't even look at me as, you won't even consider me as a candidate for somebody you want to date, right? So I said to myself, I'm not going to do this anymore. If we're just friends, if we're just friends, we don't need to be this close, right? We don't need to spend all this time together alone. And so I was mentally preparing myself to separate from him so that I could heal from this. Not that I'm not, not to say that I didn't participate and take part in it, but then I wanted to move forward and at least be open to other opportunities or other people after I've healed from this, right? Or move on from this, if you will. And so, yeah, that's how it worked. By the end of that 2 years, when I came back from my trip, my month-long trip, I was like, yeah, I was done. I was mentally good to, cut him off and be done with it. But when I came back, he did the 180 on me, and he said, I'm in love with you, and he wanted to make things work. And of course, the first thing in my head was, I'm like, you're only saying that because I stopped, putting out, right? And so I go, yeah, whatever, it's fine, dude. Like I'm moving on. We're done. And it took, and speaking about it, it sounds like, this is the fast forward version, but it took about 8 months to a year for him to continually apologize for his actions, and really to show his sincerity of wanting to move forward. Went the extreme to try to not reverse our past, but to strengthen the path as we were moving forward. Harold, was there something you wanted to add?
Well, I think I hope that story didn't bore you guys, but I do think it's important to know where we came from and the fact that we didn't have it all figured out. We weren't these perfect Christians that got together. Like we weren't even Christians at the time. We didn't even know what our faith was or what we believed. What I have learned, and this is to answer your question, Braden, what does a healthy dating process look like? I think you have to use your brain. Right? The Bible teaches us to use wisdom, right? Craving wisdom and to seek wisdom. It says only a fool despises wisdom. But for most of us, we don't really want wisdom. We want this divine revelation, right? We don't want to learn anything. We don't really want to study much. We just want Jesus to tell us what to do, right? But we make things often, we make him way too spiritual. I'm waiting for the Lord to bring me this perfect person, right? I'm like, who are you? Are you Moses? You know, I see Pastor Moses was on the call, but we're not waiting for God to speak to us on who our spouse needs to be, right? I'm not saying God can't do that. I'm saying is use your brain. It's about wisdom, you know. It's not about these divine revelations. It's about discovering character, like Cherie mentioned that earlier. Discovering the person's character. You're supposed to see what the other person is like, and don't get caught up in how cute they are. Like Cherie mentioned it earlier, sexiness has a shelf life. You know, character lasts a lifetime, right? So when you're dating the person, you got to figure out, is the person is this how the person is this how the person acts, and the difference between acting and reacting. Like everyone can act, right? That's why it's called acting, right? You can act a certain way, but reacting is hard to fake, right? So if you're a girl and you're dating a guy and the guy loses his stuff over the littlest thing and the guy acts a little crazy, maybe dump his butt, right? You know, if a girl is whiny all the time and you're just dating, dump her butt. Because if she's going to be whining now, if the guy's crazy now, you know, there's going to be more of that after marriage, right? I read the saying earlier, you date the act, but you marry the react. You date the act, but you marry the react. So if you're going to spend the rest of your life with someone, you want someone that has character. You know, look at their relationship and commitment to God. If that is a value for you, right? If it is a value for you, then look at what their relationship and commitment to God is. Do they believe in, oh, he believes in Jesus, so I'm going to marry him? Dude, don't be silly. Like the devil believes in Jesus. Look, how is that working out for him, right? Just by saying, I believe in Jesus. You know, like it's got to be a little more than that. You know, do they actually live it? Are they involved in their church? Do they have a prayer life? Do they read the Bible? Or maybe even the biggest test of all, do they give money? You know, do they freely give their money? Or is it like giving birth where they need Lamaze classes, like breathing classes? Oh my God, I gotta open my wallet. You know, like see how they're actually living their life, you know, like it also says he who finds a wife, like it's a good thing, right? It's not about this revelation stuff necessarily. It's about finding and being found. But that also implies, obviously, that there's looking. If you want to be found, you got to be looking, you know. And then when you find someone who you'd like to date with, then don't do what Narissa and I did, you know. Don't hook up, you know. Maybe start with a Starbucks date. Go for a coffee or a tea. Have a conversation. Go for a walk and have more conversation. Talk to each other. Get the person around your friends and see what your friends say about this person. Because you're like in La La Land and you don't necessarily see all the red flags that you should be seeing, especially if you're having sex, because sex makes you stupid. I don't know if anyone has mentioned that to you yet, but sex makes you stupid. So if you are dating a girl, get the girl around your guy friends or friends in general and see what your friends have to say about this person, because your friends often see things that you can't see. So don't do what Nur and I did. I hope that helps.
And just to add to what Harold is saying, part of it is, and he mentioned about red flags, it's hard a lot of times when you're infatuated by the other person to see the flaws in them. So part of it, like Harold mentioned, is not just to get around other people, to be around his friends, to be around her friends, but also to not ignore what is brought up. You know, if your closest friends are saying, hey, you know, this might be a red flag, don't just dismiss it. You know, it's something worth a conversation. It may be nothing, but it is something definitely worth a conversation. And just even the reaction as you're having that conversation will show you a lot of who they are and how willing they are to continue to grow or to become the person they need to be, whether with you or with somebody else, right? Because a lot of times, you know, we all look perfect, or just we can all look good and smell good when we're alone or just one-on-one. But when there's other people around and other people who've known either of you individually, they know the different flaws that you have, right? So it's not saying that none of us have it's not saying that you have to find the perfect person, because that doesn't exist. But part of it is being willing to recognize your flaws and being willing to work on it, right? Like Harold mentioned, some of the stuff that are dangerous, or some of the stuff that are just not unhealthy, right? It may just be, you know, and I've met people where, you know, when I lived in college, I had roommates, and these gals, one of them, she was a great person, but she kept dating these guys where every time they came together, they would just be really nasty with each other, and even with themselves, right? So I'm like, they were both great individuals, as I talked to both of them individually, but together they were just not a good fit. And sometimes that's just it, right? Sometimes you're just not a good fit with that person. And you know, when you listen to those you trust the most around you, and sometimes it's, you know, it could be a parent, it could be your parents, it could be your relatives or your best friends, or even just somebody, right, like a teacher that walked by going like, hey, you know, I just had this first impression about what's going on here, just to yeah, be open to that, and that would help a lot to keep it healthy, the dating relationship.
I just wanted to jump in. I see Candace, you asked if it was important for your parents and family to be involved in your dating process. And for me, yes. But so 3 months in, like we started dating basically at the beginning of our college experience. But I had said to him, when we go home for Christmas, you're going to meet my family. And I said, and when you meet my family, if my family doesn't like you, then we're done. Like that effectively, like we're breaking up. And like, I don't know, did you take me seriously? Did you think I was joking, or like?
I think not until I met them.
Yeah, I guess until the night before he met them, like I was in tears, and I was like, if my family doesn't like you. And I think he realized then, I was like dead serious. I don't recommend that for everybody, because your families may be toxic. Your mom might be crazy. You know, your sister might be jealous. So you kind of have to know like your family dynamic. But I always suggest that you have a tribe, have a group of people, whether it's friends, whether it's family, have people that you know you can trust, and that can help to be your barometer. So like everybody has that one friend who's like your frenemy, they shouldn't be a part of your tribe. They're not the people that you're going to go to be like, hey, you know, do you think this guy is good for me? They're going to tell you every time that he's whack. Right? So you're going to have to make sure like you have like a tribe of people. And when I say tribe, I mean like 2, 3, you know, you don't want like a lot of people who are always commenting on your relationship. And even now that we're married, we have a set number of people that we can go to talk. So he knows that like if we're having problems in our marriage and I need someone to talk to, like he knows who those people are that I'm going to talk to, and vice versa. So like if he's having a problem with me, I know the people he's going to be getting advice from. And I think it's good because like we've kind of carried that all the way from our relationship into our marriage. And it's been helpful that we have people that we can trust who can kind of help us to navigate through life. I can be super petty, super, I'm petty to the max. I will do petty stuff because like I can. I will think up some really crazy things. And so like having a friend, I always have a friend who I call, and she's always the friend who's like, yeah, if you want to egg his car, I'm going to egg it with you, but I'm going to let you know that we're going to be going to jail and like, he's not going to be happy. And then you're going to have to pay for the car since like you're married. Like you have to have a friend. You have to have people who can talk you down and who can help you to navigate, you know, your emotions and understand you quite well. And I know you wanted to talk about, because like dating now is different than when we were coming up. Like we're old. I know, like, you know, my husband has his cat back and he still skateboards and stuff. And like, you know, he thinks he's cool and stuff, but we're getting up there. And it's interesting because like, I think that dating now has quite shifted, quite a bit.
Yeah, I think, you know, when I talk to a lot of youth and young people, they question traditional marriage. And so, you know, even sitting here and we're sharing historically how marriage has been for us, I know that today it's very different. There are some young people who are like, you know what, you know, screw that. Like I've seen my mom go through a divorce, my aunts and uncles, you know, is this even real? Is marriage even a real thing still? Relationships have changed. You know, there's people nowadays who, you know, you haven't perhaps met the person, but your relationship is all online. You know, it's all through Snapchat. You know, it's all through social media. And so I think the nature of relationships have changed today, and the value of marriage is not the same. You know,
I did a talk on sex, and I remember a young person came up to the mic and said, "Why would I want to get married and wait for marriage to have sex if I'm having better sex and more sex than my parents do?" And I was just like, you know,
it's real.
and it's crazy because like a lot of our young people now don't see the value in marriage, because I think a lot of people in the church don't look happy. They don't look fulfilled. There's not a lot of things that, so if you see the people in your church and they're always upset at you, or if they're always upset at each other, or like they don't look cute, or like the woman has like let herself way go, or the guy has let himself way, I think for young people, they're like, why would I want to jump into that? I could just have fun, you know, without having the attachments and the financial like burden like that they might see that comes with being married. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you said it.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that's what, like, for us is super important for like young people to understand that marriage can be done a lot of different ways. I think that like the way that sometimes our parents have done it has not been attractive to us. His mom and dad are divorced. My parents have been together for a very long time, but like I never saw them argue. Not for real. And I think I came into marriage not knowing like how to navigate through like difficulty and how to navigate through any sort of like serious arguments. Like he's a guy who would go to a coffee shop and like he'll think and pray and read a book and come back and he's good. And I'm at home and I'm stewing for those 2 hours, just ready and waiting for him to come through those doors. Cause like now, like I had like a series of 15 comebacks of what I'm gonna say to you about why you have really ticked me off. And he's like calm and chill. Like he had his little kombucha shot or whatever they serve wherever he goes. And like, he's calm and like, I'm not. And I think that we had to learn how to do marriage in a way that suits us. He likes to skateboard. I like music, you know, like we had to figure out, like, you don't have to sacrifice the things of who you are to be in a marriage. And like, you can allow each other the space to do those things. I don't skateboard. I don't go to the skate park. I'm not one of the skate park chicks who will sit there on the ledge and clap for him. There are other people who do that. That's cute for them. I'm not doing it, you know? And I think there's certain things he's just not going to do. He's not going to come shopping with me. Like everyone sees like the way other people do marriage and think that's the way you have to do it. I think that as long as you're within the realm of like what Bible says, and it's very loose actually, like just don't cheat, be kind, love them as Jesus loved them. Like there's not quite a bit that the Bible says, because marriage then and marriage now were two very different things. Mm-hmm. Marriage then was a cultural and a very social contract. You got married like it was like a business deal. You got married like your dad was like, oh, you have 9 goats and like I have 1 goat. But like if we come together, like all our goats, like we can build an empire. Like that's how like you got traded off as a woman. So like it's very different the way that, you know, the cultural perspective of how marriage was done in the Bible, and the way that like, you know, so we have to see what are the principles the Bible has told us about marriage, and like how the principles of how you're supposed to date, and take that into relationship. So to me, like marriage has been fun. I think that like it's been traumatic, but it has grown us quite a bit, and I don't regret it at any space. But like, yeah, I think we just got to redefine how marriage is, because it could be super cool. It could be something super uplifting. And like, I think it could get you further in life if you're married to the right person and you figure out how to do life with a person who suits you and who matches you.
Thank you guys. So much wisdom coming at us. Just going back to the last question really quickly. I'm looking down because I'm taking some notes, because this is key. This is the wisdom coming from both of these couples. But just going back, really, what was really key for me is just showing up authentically as who you are and who you are in Christ. And then in approaching or even going in that relationship process, it's about like communicating. It's about asking you're saying your red flags and what you're looking for, what values do you have, where you're wanting to head. And if you're not going in the same direction, at times you're pulling in different directions, right? So which was really key for me in realizing that. Thank you guys. We're just gonna shoot forward to one of the commented questions that we got. How important is attraction in relationships or in your dating process? These guys are laughing.
Because I'm not his type. I'm not his type. I've looked at, we're still pretty cool with a lot of our ex-boyfriends and girlfriends. That's a personal choice. Don't go around telling your boyfriend that, like Cherie and Lau said, that I can be friends with my ex-boyfriend. We're cool with our ex-boyfriends and girlfriends. And like they all look like fairly the same. And then there's me, like literally. So it's probably better for you to answer that.
Yeah, I think originally I was not like super duper uber attracted to Cherie, like when I first met her, you know, when I was in my teens or whatever. But revisiting that and getting to meet her again, it's funny because she is not necessarily the first person I would have been like, okay, this is the one, you know, this is my type, and she didn't fit the description. And we joke about this all the time, 19 years later. She didn't have the long hair. She wasn't light skinned, all that stuff, whatever. But it's crazy because like 2 days ago, I was like, hon, like, dang, how you looking so, like, who this? You know, like, you're looking like, man, how did God know that I would be super attracted to you 20 years later, even though I didn't think you were my type? And so every day I wake up and I'm like, this girl is gorgeous. Like, but originally I wasn't on that tip. And so I don't know if it was over time. I don't know if God took the fish scales from my eyes, but I do know that Cherie is like mad attractive. But I'll say this. I think that you need to be attracted to your spouse because, you know, we're guys, right? Keeping it 100. I'll take my halo off. You know, you're going to have wandering eyes sometimes. Like the reality is there's people who you will be attracted to. Don't get it twisted. Just because you have a spouse, it doesn't mean that, you know, no one else will appear beautiful to you, because they will. But it will be easier if you find someone who you are attracted to physically, as well as spiritually, emotionally, on the inside, all that good stuff. But physically, I think it's important because if you are with someone and you don't really see them as appealing aesthetically, you're gonna find, your eyes will find somebody, you know, who will. And so just keeping it real, I think that attraction is super important with your spouse, because at the end of the day, watch this, you have to live with this person for the rest of your life until Jesus comes. And so you better make sure that you love and like this person. Should look fine as wine to you. You know what I'm saying? So that's my take.
Yeah, and I think it's important for attraction, but I think also like you got to give your attraction and like who you are to God, because some of the things that like people are saying that they're attracted to, some of you are attracted to the same, like, I'm trying to think of the nice words. I was gonna say like hoes and like tricks, but some of you are attracted to the same kind of people, and like it tells you about who you are as a person. So if you're attracting people who are of the same kind of, like they're always lying, or they're always kind of not being kind, or like you're like, how come like I can never find a nice guy? Well, then maybe you should take some time out and really revisit who you are as a person, because like attraction is a two-way thing. And I feel like if you're a person who is kind and loving, and you're sure of yourself, and you're sure of yourself of who you are in God, then you'll attract somebody who is as such. There are certain men who said like they knew they couldn't step to me when I was in college, and I was like, that's correct, you couldn't. You know, because I didn't want to attract those kind of people. And so I feel like sometimes we're not honest with ourselves, and like we think attraction is important. It is important, but remember, it's a two-way street. It's not that like you're just going to find somebody who looks good. You're also looking to see, are you going to be attracted to somebody who's got a good heart, who's got a good spirit? So like, yeah, there are some men who will never come talk to me because like nah, we're not on that. You can't be attracted to me. I'm a good woman. I love Jesus. So like, if you don't love Jesus and you don't like good women, like you're not gonna be on my level. So like, just be careful to make sure that like you're attracting who you are and who you want to be. And, you know, so like, I think that's a two-way street that we look at.
Really quick, before Uncle Harold and Auntie Nursa add on to that, I think it's really key what Shuri and just said, because I think it's key to make sure that you're the person that you need to be, that who you want to attract, which is something that I'm working on right now, is being that person, being the right person that I'm looking for in someone else, which was really key for me.
You know, to add to that, a pastor friend said to me, "You will always attract your emotional equal."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You will always attract your emotional equal. And so I thought that was interesting.
And if you're not in therapy, find a good therapist. It helps. It helps. A lot of the generational things, I know someone talked about divorce and stuff, a lot of the generational things that like you have to overcome, a lot of the things that you deal with emotionally are generational. They're from your mama, from your daddy, from your grandpa. And so like, we oftentimes we struggle with these things alone, and we just think just reading the Bible is going to be good and all that kind of good stuff. But like, honestly, it's true. You do attract your emotional equal. And if you want to attract somebody who's emotionally healthy, you have to be so. And so you need to heal from a lot of things, that probably a lot of traumas, a lot of hurt that you've had in your life. And like, I highly recommend, like, if you're struggling with that, like, don't be afraid to find a good therapist. I believe everybody should have a good therapist. It is worth the time. It is worth the money. Trust me. If you want to heal and you want to be emotionally healthy, that's my tidbit and my plug.
And I think there's a question about like coming from a divorced family. Like for me, some of those things, you can call them generational curses or what have you. I remember Shri coming from a whole family. You know, there's be times when we'd have arguments or disagreements. I'm coming from a broken family. And so she would want to work it out and talk. And my first gut reaction coming from my broken family is, when we have conflict, I'm about to dip. I'm like, peace. Oh, okay. It happened every time. And that's what I was used to from my dad. You know, he was always kind of, I guess, quick to run or dip. And so I brought that emotional baggage and those coping mechanisms from my father's past into my life and into my future marriage. And so sometimes these things show up, unexpectedly in your marriage from the past. And so Shree's right. And every day she's like telling me I need to go to counseling and I need to find a counselor. And I get it. There were some emotional blockages and baggages from my past that sometimes hinders the progress and success of our marriage. And so dealing with that and facing those demons, those inner demons, is so key and important.
There was a time he tried to break up with me, actually, and I told him, no, don't do that. I don't suggest you do that. But I knew that we were meant to be together. I knew that and I knew where he was coming from. And so it took a point where like, he was like, yeah, I have something to tell you. I feel like we should break up. And I was like, nah, we're not breaking up. He's like, yeah, we're breaking up. I was like, no, we're not. I was like, you have anything else to say? And he's like, we're breaking up. I said, we're not broken up. I'll see you later. And I remember, like, for him, he was stunned. But for me, it was like, I knew that, like, coming from where I was and knowing who he was, and knowing that this was something that was of God. Don't be just doing that for any Joe Blow, like, that comes in your life. Some of y'all be trying to fight for some people you shouldn't be fighting for, and, like, be hanging in there thinking you're going to be a ride or die. I am not a ride or die chick. As a phrase that, like, I want to know where we're going, how we're getting there, who's going to be there, who's going to be in the car, do you have enough gas? Like, I'm not a ride or die chick. I don't believe in that. That stuff is for youngins. If you're 15, you could be ride or die. I'm not ride or die. You need to have a plan. But the thing about it, I knew that God had placed it in our life, and us in each other's lives. So it was important for me to know that, like, the baggage he was bringing at that moment, that I had to reject him. If he wanted to break up with me when he was in an emotionally stable place, you can go ahead and do so. But like, you're not gonna be out here because we had a little argument and you like broken up. Nah, bum. No, we're in this. So, but yeah, I think that it showed up in a lot of interesting ways, and we had to learn how to combat that and how to help each other and how to know where our areas of weaknesses were and how to kind of complement that. Yeah, don't be going, like, I know some of y'all gonna be out here gonna be trying to get back with boyfriends you shouldn't. The key is men and women of God. I know somebody's gonna be out here doing some trick like that. Yeah, so make sure men and women of God, and make sure that like you're praying over your spouse, and like you're willing that if God says no, it's a no. It's a hard no. So
thank you guys. And then I'll pass on the same question to Uncle Harold and to Nerissa real quick. How did was attraction a big thing for you guys in your dating and whatnot? I know Uncle Harold's about to go off here, but
Oh, I'm not going to go off. I'm going to be pretty calm about this because there's a lot of good stuff just shared by Sherry and Lyle. I hope you guys took notes on that. That was really good. Thanks for sharing that. And the one thing I can definitely relate to, like, physical attraction is obviously a thing, because if I didn't like Nerissa from the get-go, then like nothing would have happened, right? But I think it's pretty cute if a girl is dressed up in her snowboarding gear and she actually knows how to snowboard, right? But the whole physical attraction thing, like it's been said before, like sexiness has a shelf life, and Braden, you can be really good looking, right? Like you could be really good looking like Braden, but it's still about principles, right? And you're supposed to live by them and find someone else who does as well. It's not about this magic, what do they call it? Like a soulmate. Because Nur and I are very different, but that's a different conversation. So I don't know if Nerissa wants to add anything, because I know I want to be mindful of the time, because you said you wanted to end around 8:00.
I will just add that was Harold's nice way of saying I was definitely not his type, which is totally true. Like I mentioned, I had an athletic background, so I didn't really care much to doll it up, so to speak. I'm not that kind of gal. But at the same time, when I saw Harold, I'm like, yeah, my first thought was, oh, he's kind of cute. I wouldn't mind working for him.
Very cute.
At the same point, very cute. But at the same time, I didn't think he was the one that I was going to marry, the one that I was going to have children with. So yeah, is it important? It's a factor, yes. But what Cherie alluded to as well is, as you grow yourself on the inside, it will show on the outside some more, right? Lyle was saying that's why Cherie is even more attractive now. And that's, we're finding that too with each other, right? Where it's as we continue to grow ourselves, as we continually get to know ourselves and each other in this journey, in the different stages that we're going through, it's definitely become more and more attractive. Love how Lyle and Cherie also shared. They also have, people in their life that speak into their life, into their relationship, as do we. Because, as you navigate in life and in the different chapters you move forward to, there's so much uncertainty, so much that you have to face. And part of this is, as you have, the Bible states how a wise man has many counselors. And by having many people speak into your life, you're not trying to navigate life on your own. Right? And that just shows us the different options we have moving forward, shows us where the resources are, right? With the internet now, we have unlimited resources, but just to even filter those resources, to filter which direction we really need to and want to look into. Part of that is what keeps not just the dating process healthy, but your marriage healthy, right? Because if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. Any relationship, whether it's a family relationship or husband and wife relationship, it's constantly growing or it's dying, right? Because it's like a living thing. So if you're not working to improve it, then it's going backwards, right? So that's just what I wanted to add to what Harold was saying.
Thank you, guys. So much wisdom. I was definitely taking notes. I hope everyone else was. And just moving forward as myself as a youth. Moving forward, looking forward into these relationships. Cherie's kids plus Uncle Harold's kids and one more is like what we're looking towards. You know what I mean? So that's a lot of great information and stuff that I can definitely apply, look over, and just study But thank you so much. Thank you all for coming. Just to we do have to wrap up because of time. Just to let you guys know, this is being recorded and then will be uploaded on our YouTube. So check that out, the Crossing Youth YouTube. So definitely check that out if some of your friends might have missed it. But thank you so much to the panelists. Round of applause to the moms, Sherry and Auntie Narissa, just being able to focus. Uncle Harold, you're doing a good job too. But thank you so much, guys. And I just want to close off with a word of prayer, and then we'll say our goodbyes. So everyone just bow our heads real quick. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for all that you do. Once again, thank you for these panelists and just the wisdom and experience, and thank you for being able to speak through them and to be able to share your wisdom with all of us youths and young adults. And thank you that we're able to just maybe take it all in, take on all of this information and just be able to apply maybe a snippet or any little bit and in moving forward and in relationships that we are in currently. But thank you that we're able to continue having these and having people that we're able to reach out to. And I pray that we can continue being a lighthouse for other people and spreading your love and your word. In your name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Once again, thank you all for coming. It was amazing. Thank you to Uncle Harold and Auntie Narissa once again, and Sherry and Lau once again. And we did also have a lot of comments and a lot of questions in the comments, but because of time, we're not able to answer. So we will be doing another one on this topic, which is awesome. But yes, love you guys, and we're cutting it.